TheFreeRotation Nation, and welcome back. I'm joined by Becky.
Hello.
And Chris.
Hola.
And today we're going to do the second part of our Tupac series, which will, start with Biggie. We're not going to do an in-depth dive into his backstory. We're just going to pick up where he becomes part of Tupac's death story.
Because fuck P. Diddy.
Yeah, fuck you, Diddy.
Fuck that guy.
You sorry son bitch.
I gotta say, though, my favorite thing I read is that they were making fun of Diddy because he was a producer who would just go in the videos and dance. So that's why they're like, that's all you do is just get in the videos and dance as a producer. What's your point of existing?
He just does like the chicken.
The chicken dance?
Yeah.
He's doing like that white girl dancing at the club.
That's not how he danced at all, in case you've seen it in the videos.
No, I know, but I would like to picture that.
Well, Biggie was born Christopher Wallace. His stage names were the Notorious B.I.G. and Biggie Smalls. He was murdered in a drive-by shooting in Los Angeles, California on 3/9/1997. He was also 24 years old.
Dang.
So we're going to go over the couple of days before his... Okay, Biggie had traveled to Los Angeles to promote his second studio album called Life After Death.
Dun, dun, dun!
Which came out after he died.
I do actually know the song that goes with that. Nope, never mind, I don't. Never mind. Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Becky. How does it go?
Every step you take. That's the song that came out after he died. I'm very...
Ooh. That's part of this song.
Chris is staring at me.
Just while y'all are white.
Okay. Came out February 97. Well, he traveled there in February of 97. He was also going to film a music video for his single Hypnotize. Life After Death was scheduled to be released on 3/25. And to promote the album, Biggie gave a radio interview on 3/5 to San Francisco radio station KVLP, The Doghouse. During that interview, he tells them, I had to hire a bunch of security because I've been getting a lot of death threats. And they're like, oh, is it because of what happened to Tupac? And he said, well, kind of, but also because as a big celebrity, your life is always under threat. Mm-hmm. It kind of turned out to be prophetic words. He said he felt like he needed security, not only for the East Coast, West Coast thing, but, he was just a big star. Photographer Eric Johnson said that he was supposed to photograph.
Photograph?
He was supposed to photograph.
He's going to take a big old photograph.
He was going to photograph.
Look at this photograph.
God. Anyways, he could photograph him because every time he would go to meet up with Biggie, Biggie was never there. He was constantly moving because he was always getting death threats or someone saying, hey, you need to kind of get moving because they're coming after you.
How do you imagine living like that? Damn.
Yeah, I mean, the entire time before his death, he was just constantly
And to be fair, it's not like Biggie wasn't slinging crack in Brooklyn and probably met some notorious people.
That's true.
Absolutely, because it was well-known fact that before he had met Tupac, who helped him get off the ground, he grew up as a crack dealer on the streets. So on 3/7, Biggie attended the 1997 Soul Train Music Awards, and he presented to Toni Braxton. Toni Braxton is awesome. But here's the thing, he was booed by several people in the audience. Like, people really, really blamed him for Tupac. He was...
I mean, if you look at the history of them, can you kind of blame him for not thinking that he had murdered them?
Yeah,
him?
It kind of seemed like he did. Then, so, on 3/8, they had the after party of the Soul Train Music Awards. A Vibe magazine and Quest Records hosted the after party at the Peterson Automotive Museum. Biggie and his Bad Boy Records entourage attended. The event was hosted by Kidada Jones. Or Kidada. Sound familiar?
Isn't that Tupac's, old lady or something?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Interesting. That the event he was killed at was hosted by... Anyways, that's just... It's unusual.
It's a coink-dink.
But her dad is Quincy Jones, so...
Oh.
Less coincidental.
Yeah.
Yeah, less coincidental.
I mean, we don't want to talk about it because it doesn't, make the conspiracy awesome, but yeah. Her dad was Quincy
And
Jones.
this podcast is all about conspiracy.
All about it. There is a Sasquatch up my butt this minute. I said that for Bobby.
Oh, rest in peace, Bobby. Every step you take.
Ripperino.
Other guests included Faith Evans, who was Suge Knight's wife.
And I'm also pretty sure that song that she's singing is Faith Evans and P. Diddy, and Biggie's not a part of it. But keep singing it.
I know. It's about I almost said P. Diddy. It's about Biggie.
Aaliyah was there. Chris Tucker. The Wayans brothers. Genuine. Jewel.
God, you're just... Jewel? Wait, Jewel?
Okay, she's like Tupac Sinead O'Connor. I guess Jewel was Biggie's token white girl.
Okay, I was about to say, I was thinking Jewel, and I'm like, wait, hold up.
That's okay. I thought Faith Evans at first. I was thinking Faith Hill, and I'm like, what the fuck is a country singer doing there? Did she meet her husband there? Did she go black and go back? Like
Not and have fans in the South, she didn't.
No, she didn't.
She was too busy recording those songs about Pearl Harbor. Hey, you're editing this episode. You get to pick.
As well as members of the Bloods and Crips gang. Both were present. What could go wrong? Like, seriously, what could go wrong? A lot. Because at 12:30...
Everything went off without a hitch.
Yeah, everything was great. Everybody went home. Everybody had a midnight snack, a little bit of milk.
And he joined Tupac in Cuba, and they started producing records. No.
That's a weird fan fiction.
Yeah. 12:30 a.m., 3/9. The Los Angeles Fire Department showed up and said, hey, your music is too loud and you're smoking. You got to get out of the Peterson Automotive Museum. Everybody starts leaving, and Biggie left with his entourage in two Chevy Suburbans to attend an after party at Steve Stout's house in the Hollywood Hills. Biggie was in the front car. No, you may think this is all ringing a bell.
Sounds very familiar.
Does it sound familiar?
Sounds like something that had happened before.
Yep. So Biggie is in the lead car, and he was in the front seat in a Suburban, and it was being driven by Gregory G. Money Young. Also in the car was Damian D. Rock Butler, Lil Cease, who was, remember, his...
For a second, I thought you said Little Caesars, and I was like, wow, they really did carry everything he could possibly want.
Sean Combs was in one of the other vehicles, in the other Chevy Suburban with a couple of people, and then behind them was, in a Chevy Blazer, was his head of security, an off-duty Inglewood police detective named Paul Ofuro. Paul, you can buy me off with $100.
This episode literally is just going to be, how many words are you pronouncing today?
Well, if they had taken, a photograph. So at 12:45, everybody's leaving. Like, this was a pretty big event. Everybody's coming out of the Peterson. They're like, get the hell out. There's a lot of there's a lot of plainclothes officers there, and a lot of off-duty officers who were moonlighting as security for Death Row Records, as well as, Biggie's label. And so Biggie gets stuck at a light. Now, Becky and I actually went to Los Angeles this year, and we were right there at this place, and they still have graffiti that they put up where Biggie died. At the time, we didn't know what it was. I was just like, what the fuck is that?
Yeah, we were like,
literally, what is this weird graffiti?
Peterson Automotive is across the street from the Academy Museum of Art. Mm-hmm. So we were going to go in, but it hadn't opened yet. We're like, let's just walk down to the Starbucks, which was like 50 yards away. Mm-hmm. Turns out that was at the intersection of where...
That's the 50-yard intersection where Biggie was stuck at the light with people walking by. And a Chevy Impala S pulls up. It's a dark car, and it opens fire. Well, the window rolls down. A guy in a blue suit with a red bow tie, he's really visible. A blue 9mm pops out. Bam, bam, bam. He shoots 4 times before hit Biggie. You want to guess where? This is where it just gets so weird.
Where it perforates his lung.
Well, he gets shot 4 times, so he pretty much gets shot exactly like Tupac 6 months earlier. His entourage rushed him to Cedars-Sinai Medical Center, where doctors performed an emergency thoracotomy. That's where they bust open your chest. But he was pronounced dead at 1:15. Like, that happens so fast.
Yeah.
Autopsy reports released to the public in December 2012 showed 3 of the 4 shots weren't fatal, just like Tupac.
Right. It was just one that hit a major organ, right?
Right. First hit his left forearm, and it traveled down to his wrist. The second hit in his back and came out of his left shoulder. It didn't hit any vital organs. you think you're being shot in the back, you're done for. But no, it just came right out. The third hit his left thigh, outside and traveled through to his inner thigh and scraped his scrotum. I don't know why they were very clear about that, but everyone's like, "Ooh, it hit his ball sack." But the fourth one went into his right hip and tore up his colon, all that stuff, and settled in his lung. And it just, since it was a gecko armor-piercing round, it just obliterated him from the inside.
Yeah, those rounds, if they're bad. If it's been explained to me with those rounds, if you have somebody like law enforcement wearing even a bulletproof vest, it'll tear them up and still tear up the person behind them.
Right. He literally didn't have a chance.
They're called greenies and they are very illegal.
Yes.
And they're very rare. At the time, they were produced in Germany, and you could only get them in one place in Los Angeles, and I think one place in New Jersey. They weren't sold anywhere else. This was before they were illegalized, where you could kind of get them, but it was still if you had them. So, I mean, we're talking about, it's...
Somebody was going to kill somebody.
Yeah. So there's a lot of theories that happen about Biggie's death, and even how it goes back to Tupac, but we're just going to talk about Biggie here for a minute. LA Times writer Chuck Phillips, yes, who also covered Tupac's, Matt Late, they reported that the key suspect was a Southside Crips member who was acting out of personal financial gain. But basically what happened was there were a couple of Crips and Blood members who, think of it like indentured servitude. They get trapped in the system, and even if they want to get out, they can't. And they're told, if you want to eat, you want your families to be okay, you have to do these key things. But then they're also told, hey, you have the option to earn your freedom and all this money by killing these people. Now, I was reading the FBI file, and it said they completely obliterated this theory and said there's absolutely no way that one person in each place operating alone could have done this. This was orchestrated by a group or groups.
Right.
In 2002, the Book Labyrinth was based on information provided by LAPD detective Russell Poole. In the book, Randall Sullivan, the author, accuses Suge Knight, the Death Row Records and Known Bloods affiliate, of working with the corrupt LAPD officer David Mack to kill Biggie and make both deaths look like the rap rivalry.
Yeah, like it was a gang turf war kind of thing.
Right. Now, there's just a lot of evidence. A lot of it's been disproven. But this book really, really details they had an insider, but it was determined he was on psychiatric meds, so his memory was bad, and he forgot stuff. Now, if somebody were to ask me right now, can you remember exactly 3 months ago when you were, or when you were at the birthday massacre, do you remember exactly? I mean, I remember most things, but I'm not going to remember everything.
Right. Especially if it's an inconsequential fact. Like, yeah. I remember I parked over at Underground. I couldn't tell you where I parked.
Mm-hmm. Now, there's also a theory that the two record companies worked together, like P. Diddy and Suge Knight. When we say the two record companies, we mean them. Realized, especially after Tupac was killed, that, hey, these guys are worth way more after they're dead. I mean, they're worth millions, and we don't have to pay.
Yeah. So
posthumously releasing their albums and stuff, it's just pure profit, and people, buy that shit up.
So I actually was listening to a podcast about that, about the death clause for artists, and all of them are worth way more dead than alive.
Yeah.
To the point of where, like, the 27-year-old curse, it's way darker than you might think.
Right.
And it may be, especially for huge artists that have been doing this for like 5 and 10 years and then are deciding to break up the band or get out of doing whatever they're doing, it's just way more profitable to have them die. Like, hundreds of millions of dollars more profitable.
Right. And going into that, the FBI files, and you can look this up yourself in the vault of the FBI, just put in Christopher Wallace, Biggie Smalls, and it references this about Tupac. It says that Tupac was going to leave Death Row Records, and Suge Knight owed him $10 million already, plus he had millions of dollars in royalty payments coming up. And he and Eazy-E, I can't remember his full name, but basically Eazy-E, they were owed all this money, and they had started talking with other rappers about how Suge Knight and Death Row Records didn't pay them. And what were they going to do? So Tupac said, you know what? I'm going to leave the label, start my own. And he went to the FBI and was like, hey, I know about his drug trafficking from the West Coast to the East Coast and how this is working. So I'm going to roll on Suge Knight. Well, no, you're not.
Yep,
because you're going to die.
Yep.
So ultimately, when he gets killed, Suge Knight keeps all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And he has rights.
He has the rights to any of his music.
In perpetuity.
You know, there's a lot of people who think that's what happened to Michael Jackson, especially since he purchased the Beatles collection, is that the Sony guy, which I can't think of his name right now, often to get the full rights and money from it. Because Michael Jackson wouldn't give it up.
Well, it would. I mean, legitimately, if you think about it, think of the artists that passed away early, like Amy. Let's think like Amy Winehouse is a good example. A lot of people didn't like Amy Winehouse when she was popular or when she was alive, but people have more rose-colored glasses now
she's
thinking
built
about
up. Yeah,
yeah. Like people remember her music as this.
Like, oh my gosh,
it's the same kind of the same thing with thinking about Selena. I mean, she was very.
Yeah.
I mean, she was iconic in like that Mexican-American standpoint, but most of us, if we didn't listen to that kind of music, wouldn't even know who she was.
Mm-hmm.
It's because she passed away and there was a lot of coverage over it that she's become such a icon.
Never heard of this broad.
Selena?
If I should.
You never heard of Selena? The Jennifer Lopez? You don't remember Jennifer Lopez playing in Selena? I think if you looked it up, you would remember it.
I promise I will not. I'm a straight white man. I've never seen a Jennifer Lopez Selena movie. Just throwing that out there.
Have
never heard. Is she a singer?
Yes.
Yeah, she was killed by her manager who was in love with her.
That's how you show her.
Yeah.
Yeah. She had just started recording. She was from here. She was from Texas. But she had been recording in Spanish speaking music.
Think like Shakira.
Yeah.
How Shakira does both.
Yeah. So she had just switched over. She had been.
We know who Shakira is.
Yes, we do.
Well, she had just signed on to a major label to do just English speaking songs because she had gotten so popular. And right at the time in which she was signed on and like she had won a Grammy and all this stuff, her manager killed her. And she was like 20.
Yeah, she was jealous, and Selena was going to break away from her because she was so controlling. And
she ran the fan club, and she was taking money from the family. And then it came out she was like obsessed on an emotional level, so she just killed her.
Well, hell, this sounds like a good podcast.
Yeah.
Selena, oh my God, I love it. I would talk about.
We could do Selena.
Yeah, we could do Selena. It's a solved one, clearly.
It's so sad.
But it's a
so
sad
nice.
story.
But also when you think about it, think about what happened to Britney Spears and how close she was to being part of that club.
Yeah.
And anyways.
Which I wouldn't be surprised if somebody had been trying to kill her off.
Well, think about Brittany Murphy. Anyways.
Yeah.
Kurt Cobain.
Yeah.
Yes. Damn Courtney Love.
I don't think she did it.
That bitch did it. Fuck Courtney Love.
We could also do Kurt Cobain. I'm sure she had her reasons.
Drugs.
Yeah.
The reasons were drugs.
Yeah. Drugs.
Drugs.
No,
we don't even. Do you even go here? Who invited you? Okay, so we're going to look at the Tupac and Suge angle. So Shakira released the song Hit 'Em Up, where he alludes to having an affair with Faith Evans, Biggie's wife.
Suge Knight's wife.
Biggie's wife. Suge Knight. I wrote down both names. I don't know which one it was.
Faith Evans. We'll just say Faith Evans.
He's having an affair with... No, that's Biggie's wife. Faith Evans.
Okay. I thought you had said it was Suge Knight's wife earlier.
I probably did, and that... Anyways, yeah,
it's
you got Biggie's wife.
You got this.
Faith Evans.
The power of editing.
Yeah, exactly. So, in regards to Suge Knight, here's what we have for his motivations. So Suge Knight, we've already talked about how he owed all of the money, and Tupac was going to leave and start his own record label, and then he gets word, he's talking to the fucking FBI about my drug deals. Because Tupac was telling him, you could buy in Los Angeles a kilo of cocaine for $16K and sell it for $24K on the East Coast. So, Diddy and Suge seemed to kind of be working together. The only problem was Tupac, who was going to roll on them. Kind of makes sense also why they tried to kill him just out of the blue, the first time he got shot. When he didn't expect it at all. And he was like, Biggie, you're a fucking joke.
Yeah.
I thought we were friends, dude. So also, we talked about how Tupac was worth more dead than alive. He's in the top 10 dead artists who earn the most.
Yeah.
Top 10
I
most
think-
earning dead artists.
I think he's like, wasn't he like second or third to Elvis or something like that? It's something
he's-
really
he's way up
crazy.
there. And Suge Knight says the plot was actually to kill him.
Yeah.
It was by his wife, and I can't remember her name, and his, head of security, but it was actually supposed to kill him, and just, whoopsie, got Tupac accidentally. Oh my god.
Oopsie daisy, you murdered somebody.
Oh my God.
Oopsie murdered somebody.
I accidentally get to keep $10 million.
Yeah.
Darn.
Then there's the theory that he didn't die, but he went to live with his aunt in Cuba, where he continued to release his discography.
Which is kind of fun to... I don't completely believe this at all, but a lot of people believe it because he had so much music in backlog.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Well, and his mom made the statement at his funeral. She said Tupac chose to go quietly. What? How do you choose to go quietly when you're gunned down at a light?
Yeah.
And it's like the biggest news of the time.
Yeah.
So, we're going to look at the Diddy Sean Combs angle now. He saw how well, and Biggie, we're going to look at this. He saw how well Tupac's records did after posthumously. And there's a theory that he worked with Suge to kill Biggie. Biggie's mom, Boletta Wallace, believes this wholeheartedly. She believes that they worked with corrupt LAPD to get this done because the theory, there were Crips and Bloods at this event, and this doesn't happen.
Right.
These people don't mingle.
Yeah. Oh, I guess that's a good point.
This is like having a barbecue of Saints and Falcons fans at the Saints and Falcons game.
Yeah. It is actually more common to see people who are in the main Blood Crips start to like go off in their like hybrids or whatever. And there are a lot of gangs that do team up, but in the 90s that wasn't as big of a deal. That was
LA?
Not in 90s LA. In this day and age it's a lot different. Hey, inclusivity, I guess. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
But it is really crazy when you said that about the Bloods and the Crips both being there. I was like, that's
right.
Unless it's like Christmas at Civil War where it's like, let's all eat together before we
and
murder each other.
This was literally at the height of the violence between East Coast, West Coast hip-hop.
Yeah.
This wasn't like, Tupac's death, they had a kumbaya. It was like, you know what? Held hands, feed the world type thing. Feed the world. Feed them crack. Anyways.
Let's celebrate our differences.
There's also a theory that the FBI had Tupac and Biggie killed in an attempt to end the violent rap culture. This one doesn't really hold a lot of salt when you read the FBI files because they were very intently dug in. After Biggie was killed, they really looked into it because it related back to their drug cart.
They care about the drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Angie and I were talking about this earlier, and a lot of times with the FBI, they weren't investigating the murders because those were local jurisdictions in like Los Angeles and Las Vegas. What they cared about, what was going on, was the drug trafficking.
Right.
And what probably ended up happening is as they were digging into that, they uncovered a lot of other corruption going on. If you ever are going to investigate a corrupt law enforcement agency in a state, the state would investigate it anyways. It wouldn't even be the federal government.
And here's the thing, like...
It crosses state lines.
And when it crosses state lines, it becomes the FBI.
federal.
That's why the drug trafficking was important.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Right.
And with the numbers you're talking about 16,000 kilo of coke from LA getting to New York being worth 24,000. That's if they
That's cartel numbers.
That's also if they haven't stepped on it. You're talking actual profits. If you step on it a little bit, you thin it out with baby laxative to a third. Suddenly, it's double your profit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The numbers just go crazy, and that's if you're moving weight and they're not selling it by the gram.
Yeah.
Then it gets even higher. So their goal is to get it to these street level guys like Biggie.
Right.
Who can move it.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's a numbers game that is insane when you think about it as 1 kilo, which is 2.2 pounds, but when you start moving 150 kilos at a time and your profits are $16,000 per kilo, like suddenly, hey, I made $1.6 million last week.
Right. Yeah. Right.
The numbers are just insane. And with that money, you get to bribe police officers that have gambling problems and already kind of scumbags. And
remember, this was during the era where I think it was like 150 police officers were found. They were I think it was called Crash.
Yep.
they were the ones who were investigating gang activity, but turns out they were part of the gangs.
Yeah.
Of course.
So they were all released, and it would. And then when you're thinking about this, I want you to remember what we learned about Tupac and how he was raised in his belief systems, which didn't center around a violent, drug trafficking sort of thing. But when he was bailed out by Suge Knight, he suddenly came into this world. So I'm sure he wanted out, because he's been called, even by, Kamala Harris, the vice president, one of the, philosophers and intellectuals of our age. Even at the age of 9. So he recently had a book of his haiku poetry sell for $320,000 at, I think, Sotheby's maybe. But it was a book of haiku poetry he wrote when he was 9 years old. And it was incredible. I tell you what, I couldn't put a haiku together right now. He also had drawn a picture of himself, and he had sent this book of poetry to some of the Black Panther members who were in prison at the time. And he drew a picture of himself, and he's dreaming of the day he would be a freedom fighter with the Black Panthers. And he genuinely wanted to help and bring attention to, well, I think, I can't speak to who he was. But we've seen, all this stuff. I think that maybe he really did just want to get away from that.
Yeah.
It's money.
Yeah.
It's always about money.
Yeah.
And costing Suge Knight $10 million off the rip that he owes you him back, plus whatever he's making off of moving coke, which, realistically, easily $1 million a week. Easily. Those are get you murder numbers.
Yes,
pretty
especially
fast.
when they find out that you're talking with the FBI.
Yeah.
That you're rolling on him.
It's like the mafia. You
can't
do not speak to the FBI.
And when you think about this and you're like, it was just Tupac and Biggie. No. There were at least, right after Tupac, 21 other people got killed, unsolved. You just don't hear about it because they weren't
as big.
Right. But they were all witnesses.
Yeah.
People who saw this, people who were there, gone.
You treat it like, I don't know if you've seen Goodfellas, but after the Lufthansa heist, they kill everybody involved. Anybody that has anything to do with it, just wipe out.
Yeah, because nobody can snitch.
The more people who know, the more dangerous.
3 people can keep a secret if 2 of them are dead.
Yeah.
That's the rule.
And Pretty Little Liars. Can keep a secret. Anyway. So there was also something else going on at the time with the Jewish Defense League that I alluded to on our last podcast. And what this was is it was a really vicious, violent scam where they would have somebody call you. So you're working in your office, Becky, as a district attorney.
How dare you?
I know, I'm sorry.
She doesn't defend anybody.
But it would be more so defense attorneys. But imagine you're in your office and you all get a call and it's a legitimate series of death threats. And then in steps these people with the Jewish, Defense League, and they're like, hey, we can protect you. If you pay us this amount of money, we'll make sure nothing ever happens to you.
That's called extortion.
Yeah, especially since they were the ones making the phone calls.
Yeah.
I've thought about that. It's such a good way to make profit.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not advocating extortion to anybody. I'm just saying in my brain.
Yeah. Well, and let's think about what happened to Biggie. He was receiving nonstop death threats. His security is replaced by these people.
Yeah.
Who could be owned by someone else. It's not his usual people. That's all I'm going to say. So now we're going to take a look at the FBI files. I'm not going to go into full detail. The names are redacted. If you know the story, you can put Suge Knight's name in place where he belongs. If you know the names of people and the dirty cops. But so, you can read it. It is heavily redacted, but it's interesting.
Yeah.
And
public record.
When you read through it, it states very clearly that one person couldn't have pulled it off. It had to have several people, several groups. It also identifies several officers that were at Biggie's murder and were on their cell phones as he left. They were off duty in casual clothes. The second Biggie walks out, these people spread out, start making calls. The FBI found this. This is a little suspect. And they started researching these officers and found that they were corrupt PD. And every time they would relay this information back to the LAPD, it just would go nowhere. The FBI files identify several people who came in and said, I know who did this. We were there. We know who did this. Testimony is nothing's ever followed through, and these people, some of them are mysteriously murdered. They're just gone. Oh no, he died in a drive-by. Oh, so sad.
That must be rough to be out there.
Mm-hmm. The FBI files also says that when LAPD officers started coming up as suspects, the investigations were thwarted from higher levels. So when they said, we've clearly found that your officers here, we're part of this conspiracy. Whoop. Oh, we don't have no idea. It's been turned over to internal affairs, and then it just gets quashed. The FBI really has no jurisdiction over...
Unless they're invited in.
Yeah, unless they're invited in. They can't pursue this. So when you think, well, why didn't the FBI do something?
They can't.
They can't.
They can't. They literally can only investigate crimes that happen at a federal level, like interstate drug trafficking and stuff like that. Or they are invited in, but not by a local jurisdiction. They have to be invited in by the state jurisdiction. Yeah. So if it was us, it would have to be the Georgia Bureau of Investigation inviting the FBI in. Right. If LAPD didn't invite CBI in, CBI could not get involved.
Couldn't invite the FBI.
Unless it was about police corruption. But there has to be a report of that.
There has to be a report. Someone has to report it up. So there was an anonymous call. And they said, I was there. I was part of this. I would like to say what I know. And these are the FYZ people. It was turned over to the LAPD, who said, oh, there's 500. The name's redacted. It says there's 500 of these in the phone book. And then it's just gone. All the evidence and everything just disappears. So, how we were talking about Tupac and how odd it was that there were, unusually, out that late bicycle cops.
Yeah.
It just starts adding up into something that even if you don't buy it with Tupac, you can clearly see it with Biggie. Like, you might be like, Tupac was just a victim. Suge Knight had him killed, but then what happened to Biggie?
Yeah.
Tupac disappeared and went to live with his aunt. Then what happened to Biggie? Now, there are some people who think the same thing happened with Biggie, but I just don't think so.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't know. If Suge Knight and Diddy were working to move coke, and Diddy was supposedly Biggie's best friend and as popular and as famous as he's getting, it may have been just easier to get rid of him.
And the FBI file clearly states that they believed that, because it says, it's redacted, it says blank, Biggie's best friend, we believe has, I can't think of the exact wording, but we believe blank, Biggie's best friend, helped set this up. And
it may not have been...
Or Biggie's good friend is how it said.
A decision he wanted to make, but Suge Knight might have been like, we gotta cut all ties. They all know too much.
And he's shown that he can kill with impunity. Like, nobody's coming after him.
No, he's in prison now.
Yeah, and...
Well, they have him on tape running people down in his SUV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A little different.
It's a little hard to,
it wasn't me. Which he tried to say someone else was driving.
Oh, yeah.
We have video.
Yeah.
It's real hard. I mean,
it's a little different now. It's not the 90s.
I was about to say, it's not the 90s where it's like you have to rely on eyewitness testimony. Right. Big Dad, I almost said Big Daddy, but Big Brother is always watching.
Big Daddy.
Big Dad is always watching.
We had cell phones, but they're not out there recording video. And even if they did, you wouldn't be able. It'd be like 3 seconds long. So you don't have the stuff we have today. So you're thinking, if this happened today, it'd be on like 1,000 things. But no, not in 96 and 97.
No, if Tupac or Biggie had been murdered now, they'd have been on TikTok.
No, so think about like Rodney King. The video you had is like crappy distance, way far away, and then helicopter video. And that's really it. Mm-hmm. And that was broad daylight on the side of the road, beating the hell out of a dude.
Right.
Which, to be fair, it was kind of on PCP. But they went a little overboard. But even with that, with cops on the side of the road beating the hell out of him, you have two really, shitty videos of it in broad daylight. And I think it happened like on the 110 in LA.
Right. And he didn't get justice until the people were finally like, we have fucking had enough, and rose up and rioted. I was reading this thing, it said the cop we talked about travels around, and it's from, no, it's a gang member all around, and they present their pieces, their evidence. So they to these seminars, and they're mostly white, because black people already know what happened. That you don't have to ask in the African American community in Los Angeles, what happened to Biggie and Tupac? We know. The LAPD killed them. Oh, And the FBI file says there was a cop who was being investigated for corruption. He's been tied to the Biggie murder. And as they were looking into him, they realized that, he had been caught, like, passing guns to gang members and just saying, and moving the guns from this case file to this case file. So they put him on desk duty. During that time, he just happened to take a trip to the Mike Tyson fight in Las Vegas the same night Tupac was killed. So, wow.
Nowhere near.
And the gun that killed Tupac happened to come from a Los Angeles County evidence lockup. It's so just... But it is circumstantial.
It is circumstantial, and we say it all the time. There's a difference between knowing something and proving something.
Because correlation is not causation.
Nope. Unfortunately, you just never... There's justice. I guess if you're outside of that lifestyle, there's no justice in what happened. But you never know. Maybe there was justice within that lifestyle.
Maybe there was.
Diddy's worth $1 billion and Suge Knight's worth $1 billion. There ain't no justice.
There's no justice.
No.
And Valletta Wallace,
the people who actually shot, low levels.
Valletta Wallace, she kept bringing a civil case against the LAPD, and it kept being thrown out for the strangest reasons. So, one judge threw out her civil lawsuit because she didn't tell them she was filing it. When she filed it, she didn't give them a notice that she was filing it. I guess you have to send notices.
Yeah.
So she refiled it, and we're talking I think it was 2012 that they finally threw it out for the last time, but she's awarded lawyers' fees. And at this point, she's like, it's just too late to prove anything. These people have been murdered.
Yeah.
My witnesses are murdered.
Yeah.
And she had the FBI documentation, and they said it's not permissible because wasn't an active investigation into the Biggie murder. It was actually investigating was Biggie related to Tupac, because they were still investigating Tupac because he was an informant. Mm. Or he was going to be. So they were investigating the drug, and this is what they found. It's a shame because, we say, wonder what happened. Well, I'm pretty sure we know now.
Yeah.
We know. And I think that it just worked out in a lot of ways. Like, hey, we can get rid of this informant. We can make money off of them posthumously. And then I really think Diddy was like, hey, I don't want to pay Biggie.
See, that's the part of it I don't think happened. I think more than likely Suge set it up and probably made Diddy go along with it. More of the, if not him, you scenario.
Mm-hmm.
One of y'all's gonna die.
No, that's true, yeah.
I just don't see Diddy doing Biggie like that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and you never know if Biggie had decided that maybe he would...
I see Suge Knight being worried that Biggie and Tupac were friends and had spoken, and if Tupac was going to turn state's evidence on his end, Biggie on his end could have done it too.
Exactly, because Biggie and Tupac were friends right up until Tupac was shot for the first time. Yeah. And there's a lot to be said that maybe Biggie didn't know. Biggie's wife says he didn't know. Yeah. He really didn't know. And I don't know. He didn't seem like, when you listen to his music, he seemed like gangster rap. And he didn't have the intellectualism that Tupac did, but he didn't seem like that kind of guy. Selling crack doesn't equal murder.
Yeah. Crack is not the gateway drug to murder.
Right. It's gateway drug to heroin. or meth.
I feel like meth is the gateway drug to everything. Because we're from the South. Yeehaw!
Where your teeth at?
But yeah. It's a sad story. These were real sad stories. I guess that's what true crime is.
It is really sad.
Kind of sad.
The FBI also said that when Biggie was shot, it was very, very well orchestrated. They had shots fired in front of the Petersburg Automotive Museum. Peterson Automotive Museum. So when, the actual cops who weren't corrupt had to go see what the shots were, and they left the area Biggie got shot in.
Snaky.
Yeah, they even identified the shooter, but they're like, what? He only works in real estate. Come on. He's not a murderer. And even it got to the point where the Rolling Stone magazine, Vibe, the Los Angeles Times, New York Times were fighting amongst themselves. Okay, the LA Times actually contradicted itself. Front page Metropolitan News said, hey, we have corrupt police officers and here's what happened. And then a little further back, you got an article that says, our own reporters are bullshit artists and they have no idea what the fuck they're talking about. And it's like they're arguing with themselves. And I can't remember who said it at the time, but they're like, the LA Times is obviously in league with, they're part of the cover-up.
Wow.
It's wild because remember newspapers at the time, there was no social media.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you had your like, what was it, where you'd go and make your own homepage?
Oh yeah, Angel Fire.
Yeah, Angel Fire. You can make your Angel Fire page, and there was like, the Yahoo News, but it wasn't like today where you had instant access.
Live Journal.
Yeah.
Zanga.
I was angry. Yeah.
MySpace.
I think MySpace was a little bit later.
Oh, I know. I was just being dramatic.
But yeah, so you have the newspapers, and they're fighting amongst themselves. Like, no, you're wrong. No, you're wrong. And Rolling Stone is like, what the fuck is going on here, dudes? We pretty much know it's corrupt police officers, right? Right? Right?
Right. Echo, 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 echo.
And then these authors and, these books are arguing with each other. They're not just stating different theories. They're actually, like, talking shit about the others. It's like, if you guys could get together, sit down, and share your notes. But it's like...
less profitable.
Less profitable. And, one way to, muddy the truth is put a lot of bullshit.
Yeah.
Bullshit truths out there. We see it all the time during the presidential elections.
Yeah.
Yeah. Ooh, go say that he did drugs back in the 70s. Just go say it. Go say it.
Just go say it. He did a little bit of weed.
He did it. It doesn't matter if it's true.
He showed a titty to somebody.
Titties.
Oh, Joe Biden titties.
Oh.
I bet he has giant pepperoni nipples.
Oh, I think no nipples. He's alien.
He definitely does not have ghosties. He has old man, like, liver spot nipples.
With, like, the little hanging down,
Yes.
nipple flab skin.
Well, that was fun.
Yeah, I'm so glad we got in that segue, because that's a picture I did not want to have.
All right. Well, thanks, guys.
Thank you for listening. Let us know your thoughts and what you think, or if we've missed something. I was looking at a lot of stuff, and for once, it wasn't information that discredited each other. That's not the word. Anyways, it seemed to flow.
Yeah.
It was good.
Mm-hmm. All right.
All right.
Well, thank you for joining us. And next week, we'll be talking about...
Oh, is it my turn?
Yeah.
Yeah. Joe Biden titties.
There's a couple that I'm looking at. I will post on the Instagram and the Facebook or whatever
All right.
what I'm going to pick.
Okay.
Because there's a couple of fun ones I want to do.
So stay tuned, and we'll see what we're doing next. I'm excited. I think these series are exciting.
Yeah, it's fun. I mean, we don't... True crime, I think this is like really the first time we've ever really done true crime in 5 years. But it's interesting.
It is. Mm-hmm. And if you've seen Bobby, give us a call here because we sure do miss him.
Yeah, we have an unsolved mystery
he
of
may
Bobby.
be dead, or he may be...
He probably owed money to Suge Knight.
Or his...
I'm probably going to do the local unsolved true crime about the kid who got killed like less than a mile from my house.
Yeah,
oh, shit.
The one that found in the creek ditch.
Yeah. So we'll bring it home a little local, and then we can actually have pictures and diaphragms.
Diaphragms.
What is he got?
For those of y'all that don't want to get pregnant.
Photographs and diaphragms.
That's my favorite kind of thing. Photographs and diagrams. All right.
Yep, I got that idea from the cow koalas.
Mm-hmm. Really rolling it back there.
When I was running from a salami.
Is a pizza a sandwich?
Yes.
Sandwich has had 2 slices of bread. Pizza only has 1.
If you roll it up and eat it properly.
Well, then it's a burrito.
We're not starting.
Still not a sandwich.
We're starting.
No, it's a fruit roll-up.
It's still the same.
Because it has tomato sauce on it.
Still has the same 1 piece of bread. Still only counts as a burrito.
If anybody has listened to this podcast past 2 years from now, like 2 years and now, you have no idea what the fuck we're talking about. But go listen to our old episodes.
Listen to old episodes. And thank you for listening to us at all. And tell us who else you'd like us to do in the future.
We don't want to do them, but we'll like cover them in a podcast.
I mean, I'm not opposed to
I-
watching stuff.
I would love to do Alexandra Daddario in the future. So Sal could make that happen. I'm on board.
Okay. And by do you mean?
Whatever.
Oh, well, okay.
Whatever she's down for.
Yeah, we'll do it.
The poophole loophole.
For some reason, I thought you were talking about a dude.
No.
So I was like super invested, but now I'm like, whatever.
No.
All right, goodbye,
right.
friends.
Bye,
Bye
love you.
everyone.